When I am in the sun a lot I wear a straw hat instead of the cap. It is a boy's hat. I don't like the ones they make for women or girls. The only time I wear the other hats is when I make trips around the country here in the States and on my trips overseas. When I go to the church where Nikki goes I wear a hat. The only time I wear the Stetson is when I need to look more like a boy. Jane looks as if she has witnessed tragedy again. Look like a boy, why ever would you want to look like a boy? It is not often but sometimes it is necessary in some of the things I do. I should not say any more, it is not just my secret, you should not worry, I am not a homosexual. I suppose you could be fixed up to look like a handsome little boy. If Mom learned of it, it would probably be her death. Jane doesn't look very well, she still looks devastated. It is quiet. Charlotte stares at Jane wondering how she can ease her pain. Then Jane looks troubled and very concerned. You have not been using Mom's money to buy all your equipment, and all your trips around the world then? I do not know as I have made any trips around the world. I have made several trips overseas here and there. Dad made me to understand that I have not been a financial burden to him or Mom since I was born. I have no way of knowing why Dad views it like that. Jane stares at her little sister for a time before speaking. Mom used to complain to me about Dad spending so much money on all of your little fancies, but for the last few months, she has not mentioned a thing. I wonder if somehow she has learned about all of your money. I doubt that I have a lot of money. Dad would never let Mom know that much about me if I did. Dad would not care if I told Mom about myself, he would not be the one to tell. That is just how Dad is, he does not intrude in other people's affairs. Jane, let's talk about something else, something more pleasant. This is very dismal and depressing to me. Depressing? I don't believe this. Thinking about having lots of money is depressing. I am so sorry, Jane, I do not want to upset you or make you unhappy. Please, I cannot help the way I think. Jane looks at her little sister with kindness for a while and then she looks straight ahead with a look of deep concern. I would be jealous of you if you were as most people. If you were a king, you would have an attitude of a pauper. Everyone lusts for recognition and praise, you choose to be ignored. I get too much recognition as it is, and I have nothing for which to receive praise. I enjoy my life, I have no reason for others to know it, it would not make me happy. I do like to see others happy, but knowing too much about me may make them unhappy. I certainly would not want to be a king or a queen, that would be a horrible fate. I would be very unhappy. Jane, if I had millions of dollars I would not want to know, I would not want anyone else to know, except for Dad or someone that we can trust to see to it. Secrecy is like safety, I don't want people to look at me with jealousy or envy. If we brag and exalt ourselves we cause people to feel badly toward us, we bring bad things on ourselves from everywhere, we would be creating our own problems. Truth will solve all of our problems before we create them. Jane looks in awe at her little sister for quite some time. You are like a mystic philosopher or a sage, what you say makes as much sense as simple math. I am none of those, I am simple, I am also a little 12-year-old girl. Please, think of me as I am. I am so sorry, Tyke, I understand. Jane looks at her little sister with a very meaningful smile. Tyke, you are the sweetest little girl in the whole world. There are few that know about our movies or how much money I may have. It would upset me very much for my life to be exposed. I expect you to keep all of this to yourself. Oh Tyke, I could never speak a word, that would be so cruel. If I did such a thing, I would expect you to abandon me forever, never speaking to me again. That would devastate me. Our closeness means more than anything in my life. It is silence. Jane looks very concerned and serious. Tyke, Mom has changed in the last few months in her respect for you. Until a few months back, she constantly grumbled about dad spoiling you. You would never know what hardship was, you would never know how to suffer and know how it feels to be destitute and scared. Jane, I do understand how mom could think that, because anything concerning my life, she does not have a clue. I am grateful she doesn't. If she knew of all my dilemmas, she would probably be a nervous wreck or maybe die from a heart attack. I do not want to scare you, Jane. Twice I have thought I would never live to see the next day. I have been so cold and tired I could hardly take the next step. I had to if I were to live. Once Nikki and I had to crawl through the mud in the rain on our hands and knees for hours. We don't know for how long. It was for several miles. Some of the distance, we had to crawl on our stomachs like lizards. We needed to get into places where companies were trashing the earth. The law would not have been on our side if they had caught us, or maybe worse, as they were really criminals, on which we were spying. The only thing we never suffered much from is hunger. When the food we had packed in ran out, there were still plenty of ants, grass, and plants, which did not taste all that bad. You know, neither Dad nor I could let all of that be known. That was one of the reasons for getting sneaky. She has made things secure and comfortable. We don't need to crawl on our stomachs like lizards anymore. If Nikki had not been by my side, I probably would not be here today. She kept my courage up. She knew what plants we could eat and not be poisoned or end up sick. Of course, that is one thing on which Nikki and I disagree. Nikki speaks up very firmly. We certainly do disagree. Charlotte is the one that give me courage. She knows as much about poison plants as I do. Charlotte does not know how to interpret Jane's expression. She probably has a mixture of emotions. Staring at the steering wheel, she finally says, I realize you could not tell anyone, but it gives me a real sick feeling with you being in all that danger. You know a lot more about fear and being scared than either mom or me. It is very clear to me now, why you and Nikki are closer than sisters. Jane, it is more risky to drive on the road than for Nikki and me to be stuck in the forest. It was not as tragic as it seemed. Did you really eat ants and grass? Yes, it is not as tragic as it sounds. It is like fear. Fear hurts worse than reality. I preferred the grass to the ants though. Don't ever talk to Dad about our ecology movies. He doesn't know we take them. He thinks we buy them from a gang we know. That way, Dad would not get in trouble. The reason we buy them from this gang, the companies will not know who to go after or who to sue. Dad does not know you have been in all this danger. We could not chance letting anyone know. These companies could sue or even have Dad put in prison. There is no need to worry about it, Jane. We did not name any companies in our movies. If they tried to do anything, they would be convicting themselves. We have pictures in safekeeping that we did not put in our movies. Those pictures would be convincing witness against them if they tried to press charges. Jane has been staring at her little sister in awe. She continues to stare, going through several different emotions, until finally, with tears in her eyes, she says, if mom only knew her little girl. With that, Jane starts the van. They are soon on their way down their lane. Back to our friends Jane. Jim is 17 and 11 months, Lee is 14, almost 15, they are decent kids, they treat us with respect, they use no bad language, they do not push at us in any wrong way. We could not do all we have done without them. Nikki and I could never have done it alone. We are not sweet on them, they are like my brothers. Nikki gives a little snicker. No, but Jim is certainly sweet on you, Charlotte. He thinks you are the most incredible specimen of a lady that he could ever imagine. That may be, but he makes a great, big brother. He does not know I have a beautiful sister either. Jim being an LDS, I could not let mom know I had any association with him. You know how mom thinks about the Mormons. She says they are an occult and are not Christians. If mom would get her head out of the clouds and read a little history, she would find that her religious ancestors were very ruthless and bloody. They converted by the edge of the sword. What a way to build a church! You cannot build a good city with bloodshed, neither can you build a church by the edge of the sword. They were no different from many of the Muslims are today. Many of the Christian doctrines and understanding is from pagan religion. Is that really true? It is with the Catholic and her little children, Protestants. Tyke, I have not heard about all of that. I suppose I should study some history. It would be good if you did. You would understand this religious world better. You need to know about its history. Jane, I must clear the fog, just a bit more reality. I speak only of those who claim lineage as their authority. We cannot be liable for the illusion of our ancestors, religious or otherwise. We all are whom we are by how we think and live our lives, not by the ignorance and delusion of our ancestors. When they are on the highway, Jane pushes it up to speed and clicks it into cruise. She becomes very serious. I would like to tell you girls a strange dream I had. It helped to open my eyes to the folly of mom's thinking. Charlotte speaks right up quickly. Dreams are interesting. The spiritual realms can show us things by dreams. Then Jane continues. In my dream, I went hiking with you and Nikki. I met a boy that changed my life. He was so gentle and understanding. It was as if I was an icicle melting in the sun. I don't know how to describe him. He was able to help me with my problems. It was just the understanding I had. He didn't say anything to me. He just stood holding my hand and looking into my eyes. When I told Mom, she said it was a dream sent by the devil. No good could come of my associating and traipsing around in the wilderness with you and Nikki. From then on I started to try understanding you and Dad for myself. Do you think you will meet someone like him, Jane? No, I think it was just to get me to change my life. The dream really caused my life to change because of Mom's reaction. I started to think honestly about you and Dad. I would like to meet a boy like that. It is too much to expect. It is hard to believe anyone exists like him. I hope you do meet a boy like that, but until then, would you mind Jim sitting here in front and me sitting in the back with Nikki and Lee? I will assure you he will make you feel comfortable. He is a real gentleman. I doubt he will melt your icicle though. Jane and Nikki giggle. You never miss your chance with words, do you, Tyke? I suppose that is true. Words are an important part of my life, but my statement was in sincerity and with care. I did not want you to be disappointed in Jim. That was my intention. From what you say about Jim, I should be very pleased. You will not mind if he falls for me, then, will you? No, I will just wait until that one comes along and melts your icicles. Then, maybe Jim will settle for second best. Nikki really bursts out giggling now. Jane tries to keep a straight face, but she fails.